This is People of the State of Michigan versus Giovanni Chambers, docket number 21-76FH. And I'm told this is a plea. Is it to count one? Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Chambers, I have an address for you on Westmoreland. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Very good. And how far did you go in school?
I got my high school diploma.
Very good. And do you work right now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Chambers, you have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Jackson. And then Mr. Jackson, you agree this is a plea to count one, and will you waive reading of count two?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Would you read count one then, please, Ms. Allen?
In the People of the State of Michigan versus Giovanni Chambers, file 21-76-FH, State of Michigan, County of Ingham. In the name of the people of the State of Michigan, the prosecuting attorney for this county appears before the court and informs the court that on or about July 21st, 2020, at 4462 Cricket Ridge Drive, High Township, Ingham County, the defendant did in count one commit the offense of operating while intoxicated, that he did operate a vehicle upon a highway, Cricket Ridge Drive, while under the influence of alcoholic liquor and or having an alcohol content of 0.08 grams or more per 100 milliliters of blood, contrary to Michigan law. This is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 93 days and or $100 to $500 and or 360 hours community service, rehabilitative programs, vehicle immobilization mandatory with a prior, costs of prosecution, reimburse government for emergency response and expenses for prosecuting the defendant. We ask the court take notice that this is his third offense notice, making it a felony. We ask the court take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of operating while intoxicated on or about August 31st, 2016 in the Mason District Court, and of operating while intoxicated on or about December 21st, 2018 in the Charlotte District Court. Therefore, upon conviction, the defendant will be subject to an enhanced sentence under Michigan law and vehicle forfeiture under Michigan law. It also makes this offense a felony, punishable by $500 to $5,000 and either 1 to 5 years or probation with 30 days to 1 year in jail, at least 48 hours to be served consecutively, and 60 to 180 days community service, rehabilitative programs, costs of prosecution, reimburse government for emergency response and expenses for prosecuting the defendant, and mandatory vehicle immobilization of not less than 1 year or more than 3 years, all pursuant to Michigan law. This was committed against the peace and dignity of the state of Michigan.
Mr. Chambers, you're being charged here with operating while intoxicated, third offense. That is a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. And if you were on parole at the time of the offense, it would be a mandatory consecutive sentence. Have you had enough time to talk about this charge with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand the charge against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about what we're doing?
No, ma'am.
How do you want to plead?
Guilty.
If your plea of guilty is accepted by this court, it means you won't have a trial of any kind and you'll be giving up the rights that go along with a trial. I'm going to go through those with you. You'll be giving up the right to a trial by jury. If you didn't want trial by jury, trial by judge. You'll be giving up the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty and to require the prosecutor to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You'll give up your right to have the witnesses against you appear at the trial and to be able to cross-examine them, and the right to have this court order any witnesses that you might have to appear at the trial. You'll give up your right to remain silent at the trial and not to have your silence used against you, or if you wanted to, your right to testify at the trial. Also, there are two things that are different about appeals when you plead guilty. One is that when you plead guilty, you don't get an automatic right to appeal your case to the higher court. Instead, you have to ask them to hear it. They have to agree to hear it. And the other thing that's different is that when you plead guilty, there are many issues you cannot appeal at all to the higher court. Unlike someone who goes to trial, if they get convicted, they can appeal everything. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, if I accept your plea, it means you can't come back later on and try to say that the plea was the result of some promise or threat that no one told me about today. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
It also means you can't come back later on and try to say that it really wasn't your own choice to plead guilty today. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a plea agreement, Ms. Allen?
There is, Your Honor. In exchange for the defendant's successful plea and sentence to count 1, the people agreed to dismiss count 2. There's a sentence agreement pursuant to people receiving 6 months in the Ingham County Jail, and we agree it will run concurrent to any Clinton County sentence he gets. He has a probation violation pending there.
Okay, your audio went bad, of course, right when you were saying the most important part, but let me just go through that and you can tell me if I'm right. You said that the people will agree to dismiss count 2 and that there's a Killebrew agreement that a sentence would be no more than 6 months in jail and it would be concurrent with any Clinton County sentence. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Is that a full and complete statement, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor, but it's Eaton County sentence
Eaton
that,
County. And Mr. Chambers, is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you agree with it?
Yes, ma'am.
There is an agreement about your sentence that it would be no more than 6 months in jail. If for some reason I decided not to go along with that, I would tell you before I sentenced you, and I'd give you a chance, if you wanted to take back this plea and start over. You got all that?
Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone promised you anything else in order to get you to plead guilty that hasn't been said right now?
No, ma'am.
Has anyone used any threats?
No, ma'am.
Is this your own choice?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you pleading guilty because you believe you are guilty of this offense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then tell me about July 21st of last year. Were you driving a vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And did the police stop you?
Yeah, no, they didn't stop me. I was actually in my auntie's apartment complex, but I was parked up upon a curve, and basically I was dropping my cousin off, and I basically fell asleep in the car, and I just woke up with the police present.
I see. So you had been driving and then fell asleep.
Yes.
Okay, had you been drinking alcohol?
Yes, ma'am.
And did the police have you go for a blood test? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I was took to Sparrow Hospital, and they drew my blood, and I didn't go to jail or anything. They just drew my blood and let me go home, and it took a couple months for all the information to come back.
Right. And do you know the result of your blood draw, or can you tell me that it was at least over 0.10, which is the legal limit?
Yeah, I believe it was 1.8 or something like that. I don't know exactly. I don't have.
Okay. No, 0.18 sounds right. And were you driving the vehicle in the area of Cricket Ridge Drive in Delhi Township, Ingham County?
Yes. Well, I was dropping them off, so yes, I was. Well, I wasn't driving around in that area. I was just dropping them off. But
Yeah,
I
understand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Has the court complied with MCR 6.302, Ms. Allen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson,
yes, Your Honor.
are you aware of any promises, threats, or inducements other than those already placed on the record, Ms. Allen?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson,
No, Your Honor.
the court finds the plea is understandingly and voluntarily made without undue influence, threats, or promises of leniency. It is an accurate plea. It's supported by the testimony. The plea is accepted. And sentencing is, are we anticipating, I don't know what the status of the Clinton County case is. Are we anticipating that Mr. Chambers will be on bond if I give you a sentencing date in the end of April?
Your Honor, it's my understanding that Mr. Chambers has a probation violation sentencing
Yeah.
coming up at, what's the date on that?
March 30th.
Yeah.
And that he is likely facing incarceration there.
What was the date? I didn't get it.
March 30th.
Oh, okay. Then based on that, I think we should set the sentencing for like an in custody sentencing for May 3rd, Monday, May 3rd at 3:15. And if it's okay with you, Mr. Chambers, if you're in custody, we'll just do it via Zoom with whatever facility you're in.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Does that date work for you, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor. What time did you say?
3:15.
Thank you.
Okay, so that'll be Monday, May 3rd at 3:15. And so, Mr. Chambers, you should just know that someone from the probation department is going to be contacting you. They'll need to set up a remote interview with you to prepare that report that I use for sentencing. So
Okay.
if you don't hear from Ingham County Adult Probation within the next day or two, would you please call them at 483-6100? That's 483-6100. Tell them you need to set up that interview.
All right, just a second. I'm gonna write it. Put it
Sure.
in my.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you said 483-6100.
You got it. Yep, and just tell them that you need to set up an interview for a report.
Okay.
Okay, great. Then if you have no questions, we are all set.
Is that today? So just do it now.
No, you don't have to do it right now, but they should contact you. But if you haven't heard from them in the next, I'd give it till, what's today, Monday? I'd give it till Wednesday. If you haven't heard from them by Wednesday, then give them a call, okay?
Okay.
All right.